Welcome back to another episode of the Cycle Podcast, a show where we cover 4 trending MLB topics in 20 minutes or less. Joining me, as always, is Josh, a.k.a. Kablumski. And not as always, you were not with us last episode. Welcome back. It's good to have you. How are you doing?
I feel so good coming back. It's like when you come back home from a long trip and you just want to lay in your bed, you know what I mean? No disrespect to anybody that was sleeping in my bed before, but it's my bed. It's my bed and I want to sleep in my bed. So thank you for having me back. Looking forward to this show.
I was just experimenting, Josh. You're my forever. We have a ton of moves to cover today. We're going to talk Hall of Fame induction. We're going to go through a little bit of news on Tarik Skubal's arbitration. And then our team of the week is none other than the Kansas City Royals. I'm taking my team, putting it in my show. We're going to talk some Royals baseball. Let's get right into it. A ton of moves made since we met last. I had to write them all down. It is too many to remember. Ranger Suarez, 5 years, $130 million. He is going to Boston. Cody Bellinger stays in New York. 5 years, $162.5. Kyle Tucker, no surprise to me. For some reason, a big surprise to the baseball world. 4 years, $250 million to the Dodgers. Bo Bichette goes to the Mets. 3 years, $26 million. Luis Robert traded to the Mets. Alex Bregman to the Cubs on a 5-year, $175. Mackenzie Gore traded to Texas for 5 of the Rangers' top 30 prospects.
Insane.
And what we all said, what I've been saying, what Caleb was saying last week was once the dominoes start to fall, they're going to fall. Once Bichette, Bregman, or Tucker or Bellinger signed, everybody else was going to go because there was a lot of waiting. Bregman and Bichette, both infielders. Bellinger and Tucker, both outfielders, sort of setting the market maybe for each other. Though Bellinger with a much smaller contract than Kyle Tucker, who is now a $16 million a year man, paying Ohtani money for a fringe top 25 guy. I think it's a dumb move. But the one thing I do want to make clear is that the Dodgers aren't tacking all that salary on. Michael Conforto and a bunch of other guys that walked freed up a lot of cap space. Their cap is not going to be that much higher than it was last year. Of course, the Edwin Diaz deal was expensive, but I think the Dodgers also know Freddie and Mookie are coming to the end of their tenure. They're getting older. Tucker to them is that bridge into the future. Now, before I let you speak, I want to mention what I think is the most impactful move of all of these. May come as a shock. Ranger Suarez to the Red Sox. Now you're looking at what I think is the best rotation in baseball. You're going to have Crochet. You're going to have Sonny Gray. You're going to have Ranger Suarez, Brian Bello, Cutter Crawford, if he's healthy. And then, remember, they picked up Johan Oviedo from the Pirates. So you go from Crochet and the mediocres to a legitimate top-to-bottom rotation of guys you can count on. Of course, they lost some guys to injury last year. Throughout the year, I believe Tanner Houck went down. Of course, Rodon now a free agent, but I think that Ranger Suarez is an upgrade over Rodon. They're also replacing Walker Buehler, Tanner Houck, Dustin May, all who had a negative WAR, with Oviedo, Sonny Gray, and Ranger Suarez. Then you get Patrick Sandoval and Cutter Crawford back. They're legitimately 7 deep. If they have Peyton Toll ready to come up, Peyton Tolley, I believe, it could be a terrifying rotation. The Mets, I think, are making a lot of expensive moves to patch up the Band-Aids of everything they've lost this offseason. You know, you replace Edwin Diaz with Devin Williams. That's a downgrade. I still think Bo Bichette is a downgrade from Pete Alonso. Then you're losing the glue guys like Jeff McNeil and Brandon Nimmo. So I don't think they got that much better. But I took up too much time. Josh, go. Feel free to go a minute over or so if you want.
No. I think you're spot on like you always are. But my biggest take, and I want to caveat off of the Boston situation. At the end of the day, we all know that pitching wins championships or is a big, big part of championships. They're figuring it out. They understand that the division that we are in has some big bats, some heavy hitters, and some good lineups. So therefore, they're taking a different approach, which I applaud. They're stacking up that pitching rotation, getting some arms on the back end of the in the staff, and really working from the outside in, opposed to building the lineup and then working backwards. So I applaud them for what they're doing there. Alex, you're welcome. That's my only compliment that I'm going to give Boston and Boston fans. On the flip side, the Mets. When you talk about the Mets, use the analogy putting band-aids over what they got going on. And I think that's spot on. But on the flip side of that, I think that they're getting the right guys. Yes, they're not overly productive guys, maybe towards the tail end of their career guys. But now we're talking about locker room guys. We're talking about guys that can fit a culture and or chemistry build up that they're trying to build there for maybe some of the younger guys that they're going to try to bring up or bring in via trade deadline or whatnot. But they want to set that precedent of that chemistry. And I applaud that as well, because that is something that you cannot buy. As much as talent can take you for wins and stuff like that, you cannot buy chemistry. You cannot buy, camaraderie, things of that nature. So I like that approach. That's a very unprecedented approach that they're doing, and I applaud them for that. My other takeaway, real quick.
One question on the Mets, though. I also didn't write down on my notes. I did my notes yesterday. Freddie Peralta as well.
Right.
To the Mets. So now you still have, I think, a below average pitching rotation, but you have a legitimate ace. How much does that move the needle on that rotation? Just having one guy who you can count on every 6 to 7 days.
Not much. But this is where the chemistry and the culture comes into play. What I mean by that is you have to understand your role. Each player has a role. They buy into it, or they're selfish. They want to be the man. They want to be the face of the franchise. You know what I mean? So and I think that's where they messed up at. So now they're trying to backtrack, and I applaud them for that, for recognizing it and not letting it go on for years and then trying to make the move. Whereas they're trying to bring in some still type of caliber of productivity, but at the same time building that chemistry and role players to fit their roles. At the end of the day, I don't care how much Juan Soto gets paid. The face of that franchise is going to be Frankie Lindor, and it will always be Frankie Lindor as long as he's wearing a Mets jersey. So people realize that, making a role. I know I'm over time real quick, but I want to touch on the Kyle Tucker situation real quick. And we talked about this off air and stuff like that. We got to realize as a fandom and as a group of fans of the sport of baseball, we look at it and we want to criticize and critique on the Dodgers on what they're doing. Okay. On one side, yes, we can sit here and be like, they're possibly messing up baseball, this, that, and the third at the end of the day. But we got to realize is that the Dodgers are not the front runners to any of these big guys, big names that were out in free agency. We didn't hear the Dodgers. I mean, I'm sure some people said the Dodgers names linked up to Kyle Tucker, but there were other teams that were way more ahead of the game on getting Kyle Tucker than the Dodgers. So when the dominoes fall and the chips fall and people don't, or the contract and the numbers don't match up, why are we faulting the Dodgers to be like, hey, can we throw our number in the mix and see what happens? And how can we fault a player to go out to a team that not only is back-to-back champions, but has that winning culture? And if you're wanting a ring, what more do you want than an organization like that? So we have to sit back and realize, yes, this might be hurting the game of baseball, but they're not at fault on this. So I applaud them on what they're doing as well, as much as I hate what's going on. But I like to see my Tampa native getting paid. So that's first and foremost. But at the same time, they're doing it the right way, guys. They really are. Yes, there's a luxury tax. Yes, they're doing that, but they don't care. They're there to win games and win championships. Isn't that what they're all doing or they're all striving for? So we can't fault the Dodgers for doing that. And I applaud them. I applaud what they're doing.
And they still have 7 players in the top 100 prospects because they draft and develop better anybody than in baseball, and they pay more than anybody in baseball. They're going to win the World Series again. With that, let's move on to our second topic. Today's episode of The Cycle is brought to you by SlabDynasty.com. Rip digital packs starting as low as just $25. Slab Dynasty offers the Choose Your Chase feature. This allows you to select your comfortable level of risk. You can, of course, chase big grails, or you can choose a higher floor with a little bit lower ceiling if that's what you're more comfortable with. Slab Dynasty will also buy back any cards you don't want to keep at 92% of fair market value. Let's rip a $50 steel level pack so you can see it for yourself. All right, here we go. Click to reveal right on your phone. Fernando Tatis first Bowman PSA 10. That is valued at $70. Personally, I'm going to move that one to my vault so I can keep it for myself, have it delivered later. Check out slabdynasty.com and use the code CYCLE20 for $20 off your first purchase. Our second topic today is the Hall of Fame inductions. Of course, Carlos Beltran and Andrew Jones were inducted into the Hall of Fame. Beltran, of course, a guy who never finished in the top five, or sorry, only one top five finished in the MLB or MVP. Didn't get to 3,000 hits, didn't get to 500 home runs. People say, oh, well, 1,500 RBIs, 1,500 runs. He's also a cheater. And personally, I think it's a travesty. It's an insult to the game of baseball to say, no, Barry Bonds can't be in, McGwire can't be in. We can't get the clean guys from the steroid era like Jim Edmonds and Kenny Lofton in, even with very, very impressive numbers. But we can put the guy who orchestrated the largest cheating scandal in the history of the MLB in the Hall of Fame after going, 15 years of 20 years, 25 years of integrity matters. You got to look at the steroid users and think, it's an insult to the game. Integrity matters. Where's integrity when it comes to Carlos Beltran? I mean, where's the integrity when it comes to Andrew Jones, who was arrested for domestic violence? And by the way, it was a bad one too. So where's the integrity now? And these are two guys that were fringy. Andrew Jones may be the greatest center fielder of the modern era. Okay. Carlos Beltran may be one of the best 5-tool players of the modern era, but they were both fringy. Beltran had one good year, 2006, one outstanding year, I should say. Then he had a lot of fringe. He was a top 20 player in MLB for, the rest of his prime. He was never a super duper star. So if you're looking at a guy like Bonds who broke every record, where you have to play a game of, is this real or am I making this Barry Bonds stat up because it's just so outlandish how good he was? And then integrity matters. But when you have a guy who, even without the cheating scandal, was a borderline Hall of Fame guy, and he cheated, now integrity doesn't matter. But he's only 2 WAR ahead of Kenny Lofton, who did it the right way in the steroid era, and he wasn't flashy, but we can't put Kenny Lofton in the Hall of Fame. And we can't put Jim Edmonds in the Hall of Fame, whose prime years went toe-to-toe with Beltran. There were a stretch of 5 years, Edmonds' best years, that were as good as Beltran's best 5 years, and he was a better defensive outfielder, and we can't put that guy in the Hall of Fame, even though he's over the 60 WAR threshold that all these baseball purists talk about, yet Carlos Beltran can get in. He's a cheater, and it's a fucking disgrace. You have the other 2 minutes.
Take a breath. Take a breather. Trivia
It's
question.
It's a travesty.
Just throwing it out there. Carlos Beltran also played for the Royals.
Fuck him. And sorry to any of my students that stalk my podcast. I got a little heated. Carlos Beltran won Rookie of the Year for the Royals, and then we traded him when we were on the precipice of potentially putting together a good team with Mike Sweeney coming through the ranks. And I hold nothing against Beltran for leaving the Royals. He should have. We traded him, and he had no reason to come back. He's a cheater.
Okay. No, and I can't, at the end of the day, I can't argue none of that. I can't argue that, and it hurts me that I can't defend my fellow Rican in this situation. What I'll say is this. This is all speculation, right? Yes, he was part of the biggest, most craziest cheating scandal of all time. Was he the head of it? We don't
Yes.
know. A lot of rumors says that he was. I don't want to believe it, but that's because I'm a little bit biased. Now, with that being said, you bring up a good point about MLB with the whole integrity thing and stuff like that. We got to keep the standard. The standard is a standard, no matter what it is. Domestic violence, steroids, drug use, whatever it is. If the baseball organization, the voters or whatever, if they come in and say this is what it is, no matter what it is, then we have to hold them accountable to such measures. Now, when you talk about that, you bring up bonds in comparison to that. People don't understand. Some of the older, maybe there's some of the older viewers that we have will realize that Barry Bonds, before the steroid era, before he was the face of that steroid era, he had a Hall of Fame career before that. You know, we're talking about a Triple Crown candidate year in and year out, 40-40 club, all those numbers that people don't realize that they do. And he had a Hall of Fame career before all that. So that bothers me when we talk about that. The Manny Ramirez's of the world. You talk about the Palmero,
Rafael
Rafael,
Palmeiro.
Of the world. So yes, I am with you on that. And it sucks because I wanted to defend the man and I was happy for him and I was happy for Andrew because I remember, excuse me, I remember seeing a young 19-year-old in the World Series as a rookie, Andrew Jones, doing a Willie Mays catch in the World Series and realizing what was in front of me. Like, I am going to be honored to see this young man, 19 years old, for the rest of his career unfold. And I was very, very fortunate to see that happen. You mentioned one of the best center fielders of our time. That is not an understatement. He was through and through a pure center fielder, fielding. He had a cannon for an arm. Very, very Roberto Clemente-esque. When you talk about throwing it from the fence or a warning track on a rope to whatever base he wanted, on the money. Like, that was very, very uncommon to see. So,
and a big reason that Smoltz and Glavine and Maddox rotation was so lethal. Because they had the defense behind him. They knew they could make a mistake from time to time, and it was going to get cleaned up.
So, and right. And then, so back to the Beltran thing, and I'll wrap this up. What helped Beltran, in my opinion, with this vote and getting in, and honestly, man, I didn't think I thought he was a fringy Hall of Famer, if I'm being completely honest with you. I could have seen it either way. You know, if he got in, congrats. If he didn't get in, well, you just didn't make it enough. Top 5 finishes for MVP. He was never the face of center field during his career. He was never the one that lineups were built around. What I think helped him the most was what you mentioned, not only his 5-tool caliber skill set that he carried, but he also came up in big time moments and big time games. When you talk about the Mets, when they were doing a little run back in the day, obviously the Houston
Cardinals,
he came up big in big time situations. And I think that's what a lot of people are looking at rather than the negative side of things. They're looking about what he produced when he was on the field.
It's a travesty. It's a stain on the face of the Hall of Fame. It's a stain on the face of baseball. Let's move on to our final topic because I could keep going with this until I'm blue in the face. Let's roll right along. Our third topic today is the impending arbitration of Tarik Skubal, a guy who wants $32 million. The Tigers filed at $19 million, which frankly is just spitting in the face of a 2-time Cy Young winner. For the viewers who don't know how arbitration works, when a player is reaching the last few years of their rookie contract, a process called arbitration gets kicked in. Players are supposed to receive a new 1-year deal that sort of goes hand in hand with their production throughout their rookie contract. A player can say, I feel like I deserve $18 million. A team can say, we feel like you deserve $14.5, and they can choose to meet in the middle. If they cannot agree to meet in the middle, they go to an arbitrator. An arbitrator looks at the player's case with their agent and the players' union. They look at the case of the team, and they pick one or the other. So if Skubal goes to arbitration, the Tigers either have to pay him $32 million or he's got to play for $19 million. Just to kind of, for a frame of reference, the other notable largest arbitration deals: Soto with the Yankees, $31 million. Ohtani with the Angels, $30 million. Vladdy with the Blue Jays, $28.5. Betts with the Dodgers, $27. Arenado with the Rockies, $26 back in 19. So
Insane.
Skubal, at a point in his career where he's above all of those guys. Okay, none of those guys at the time, minus Ohtani, had won a major award. Betts won an MVP. So you're looking at Betts and Ohtani as the comparable numbers. Both guys had already accomplished a lot when they hit arbitration. They reached at 30 and 27. Now, with the inflation in the market since then, I don't think 32 is out of the question for a guy who won the Triple Crown pitching and a Cy Young the following year. Two-time Cy Young winner, back-to-back, coming off one of the stronger starting pitcher years in recent memory. And the Tigers filing at a number that, frankly, is a little absurd. And there's no meeting in the middle here. Meeting in the middle would require Skubal to take $7 million off of the number he's asking. The question is, if he gets his deal, how quickly do the Tigers trade him to avoid paying him?
ASAP. Absolutely ASAP. And that's the type of organization that they run over there. And it's not being disrespectful to that. It's just that we're going back to the whole Dodger situation too. They're scared to pay the money. They rather take the long road and pay somebody mediocre, a little bit of money, where they got a generational talent right now, still in his rookie year. The guy is less than 30 years old. I don't know the exact number off the top of my head, but he is not even at his prime yet. He is a lefty dominant pitcher. He took your team and was at one point last year, we were talking about the Tigers as the most dominant team and the most well-rounded team, whatever it may be, at that point in time. When you look at the lineup that they produced, that's a mediocre lineup at best. The role players played their role well. Yes, you had a couple standouts here and there, but then they fizzled out. It wasn't a consistent or an incline of productivity from that offensive side of the ball. So that lineup did not help him by any means. And then you talk about the year before that, when the Tigers were dismal, like it was absolutely atrocious. So when you talk about what he has done for that organization, made them somewhat relevant, first of all, being talked about, because when was the last time people were talking about the Tigers on multiple podcasts or shows as contenders or playoff caliber team? It's been years. So when you talk about the face of the franchise, somebody that has put the whole team on their back at a young age,
a reason to watch the game, a reason to tune in.
You know what I mean? And then, no. And then on top of all that, now he's like, hey, I don't even want to take the top end of this money. I just want to get paid as a two-time Cy Young winner should be paid. And you come back with that number, that is not as a spit in the face, that is a slap in the face. That is, I don't know what you could compare that to, but other than being very disrespectful. I hope
and disrespectful to the other players who view him as the anchor of their team and the leader of the clubhouse, and to Riley Green, who says, what about when it's my turn? Because I'm almost up for arbitration.
And that's what I was getting at next, is that what kind of message are you sending the rest of the team? What are you saying to them when they produce? Hey, do I really need to produce at an elite level and really help out this organization? And then when it's time for me to get paid, they're going to slap me in the face? Or, hey, do I just, coast by and do my job and maybe I get traded or I just keep on doing my thing? So you're sending a really, really bad message. The problem that I have with this is that I truly believe that the Tigers don't give a crap about the message that they're portraying here. And it's really sad because now you talk, like I mentioned in the last segment of this podcast, we talking about the Dodgers that are sitting back watching this with their popcorn and waiting for all this to unfold. And then when it's time to, hey, we're going to be putting him on the market, let the Dodgers
we'll give you 5 of our top prospects.
Here you go. Here's my number. Here are the players that we want to trade. Let me know what you guys think. And I guarantee you that it's going to be something that they cannot refuse. They cannot refuse. So then we're talking about, the Dodgers coming back in play with him. We can't fault that. The guy needs to be paid what he needs to be paid. When was the last time we've seen a two-time Cy Young player back-to-back, MVP caliber, all the statistics, front runner, triple crown, all that good stuff? And you're talking about 18 mil? Come on now. At least get into the 20s. I really hope that they meet in the middle for both sides' sake, because I really would like to see, the Tigers organization, who's not a big, a home name, team organization right now, and they're not really considered a small market team as well, but somebody
they act like one.
Well, yeah. And someone that's not like, your Dodgers or Yankees, but having something like that, a generational talent, and running with it, taking advantage of it and running with it.
Yeah. Well, I don't, because they are the arch rival of our next topic, my Kansas City Royals. Let's move into our final topic, the team of the week, which is the Kansas City Royals. I've been keeping this one in my back pocket for, all the offseason, waiting for us to kind of be done with what I think we're going to do, and we can talk about it. As a fan of the Royals, we had our 2015 run where we went all in, sold the farm, sold out our future, and won a World Series. And ever since then, it's been rough, to say the least. And then Bobby Witt Jr. came along. Bobby Witt Jr. Robert Andrew Witt Jr.
I feel like when you say his name, like a angel pops up in the back with like the glowing sun ray through the cloud.
In my head. Now, 2024, we go to the postseason. We beat the Orioles. We give the Yankees, on paper, it didn't look like a real match, but we gave them some tough games. 2025, we go 82 and whatever, 84 and 80. 82 and 80. And this year, I think we knew where we needed to improve. We needed to improve the bullpen, not the closer role. Carlos Estevez, outstanding as a closer. We had Lucas Urseg, who had some injury problems, but I think is an outstanding setup man. We trade for Matt Strahm. And by the way, we traded nothing for Matt Strahm. We traded Jonathan Bolin, who had already proven to be a bust. Strahm fills that lefty workhorse reliever role. We needed help in the outfield. Duran, we called about. We heard rumors about Luis Robert to Kansas City. We heard rumors about Taylor Ward. And that all fell through because the Red Sox just wanted too much. Angels just wanted too much. So we go out and get Isaac Collins, a guy who was top 5 in Rookie of the Year voting last year in the National League. He comes in probably as an everyday outfielder to an outfield that was one of the worst offensively in baseball, despite being one of the best defensive outfields in baseball. We extend Maikel Garcia, which is huge because Bobby Witt Jr.'s extension brings him through 2030 before he has his opt-out. Maikel Garcia now signed through 2030. So we have the two sort of centerpieces of our offense making up the best right or left side of the infield in the major leagues. Then you talk about a guy like Carter Jensen, this is going to be his rookie year. We saw a little bit. Royals gave us just a taste to have us wanting more. And I think he's going to be one of the best offensive catchers in baseball this year. You look at his metrics, his barrel rate, his swing speed, his exit velocity, all elite numbers. And that's a Salvador Perez sort of transition, I think, into a 3 times a week catcher with a DH day and a first base day. I think this could be a strong baseball team. I really do. And I think, here's my prediction. We held on to way more starters than we need because you've got Berger, Stephen Kolek, Chris Bubich, Cole Reagan, Seth Lugo, Michael Wacha, Noah Cameron. We're 7 deep. And if everybody is healthy at the deadline, I expect us to move one of those guys. We also have Luander Avila coming up. If we can move one of those guys at the deadline when teams are a little bit desperate because they're not getting all these big offers they're getting in the offseason, I think we could bring in a legitimate bat. And I think we compete for the AL Central this year. I think we have a chance to win a playoff series. I'm not going to say we're going to take down the Mariners or the Blue Jays in the playoffs, but I predict us to win a playoff series this year. Josh, with that being said, take us away for the last minute. What's your take on my team?
The Royals sucked. No, but what I'm saying, no, honestly, all jokes aside, anytime you have a Bobby Witt Jr., again, cue in the sun rays and angel in the back. But anytime you have that type of player in any lineup, you're feeling pretty good. You're feeling pretty confident. You understand that you can build something around that type of player. You don't have to worry about him, any off-field issues. He's a good teammate, 5-tool player, all that good stuff. So having that centerpiece in that prime position is huge for your organization. Huge fan of that. Then you talk about Garcia over there as well. And I think you got a strong argument about having the strong left side. I think that's not too far-fetched. I wanted to argue that, but as I was scanning through my head, I'm like, well, he has a point. Then you talk about the catcher. I'm sorry, I don't remember his name.
Jensen.
So when you talk about Jensen being a rookie, what more do you want, or what more can you ask for to have a future Hall of Famer, a good human being, a great captain, a leader, the person that knows the day in and day outs of how to be a professional at your disposal? Somebody who's not going to be a thorn in your side for playing time, or, going up to the brass and saying, hey, why are you treating me like this with everything that I've done for you in this organization? Salvador Perez is not that person. So when you have that type of caliber mentor and leader on your side, but yet at that same position with a young up and coming player coming up, that is just the ultimate recipe for success, in my opinion. Now, granted, anything can happen. Obviously, slumps are a thing. Maybe, the rookie is too much, in the MLB. That can all happen. Will it happen? I don't see that, that happening. But I think that the foundation that you guys are building there, when you talk about the pitching as well, nothing is out of this world when you talk about, the pitching, but they are a very above average pitching staff, especially in that division when you have to go against, that conference or division, going against the Mariners of the world and everything like that. We're talking about the Tigers and that whole side of the bracket there. I think that pitching is going to come down to it. They have a good problem. Teams are envious of what the Royals have. The Royals, when I say they know what time it is and they know what they got. And I think that they're going to make the right moves at the trade deadline to fit in the right pieces. Hopefully there's no injuries. I don't wish an injury upon nobody, but injuries do happen. So when you talk about when injuries happen or when other team is looking for fill-ins, anybody can get a positional player to fill in or make a trade at the deadline. It's very hard to have a very high caliber pitcher come in and fill that role. And you guys, like you mentioned, you guys have 7, not to mention the people that you got coming up in the farm system. So I think not only do they move 1, I think they move upwards to 3. And I say that very, very generously because what you guys got in the farm system, I think you guys are developing very, very well down there. I think that when you guys went all in 2015, right? When you guys won it, I think that you guys took it in stride. Like, yes, this is going to be an uphill battle. This is going to be something that we're going to have to struggle with in our farm system for some years to come. But if everybody can buy in, the scouts, the brass, the organization, we can build this up in years to come. Well, these years are right now. So they got a lot of expense, a lot of coins, a lot of chips, whatever you want to say, to play with. And they're in a good standing. I firmly believe, not just because you're my partner and a really, really good friend of mine, but I firmly believe that Bobby Witt Jr. is the front runner for MVP. I think that he dethrones Aaron Judge just because he brings more to the table. And then when you talk about what the team is going to do, what they're projected to do, and as far as they go into the playoffs, it's going to be solely on the productivity, in my opinion now, what Bobby Witt Jr. does. They go as he goes. There's not too many players that we can see in this league now that have that type of substance or value behind them, and you got one of them. So we got to you as a fan and us as
outside fans,
outside fans or viewers of what we got going on here. Understand that we have something very, very beautiful in front of us. And I'm not talking about his looks because he is a very handsome young man.
Very handsome.
The caliber is what I'm talking about here. And I don't think that you guys are taking advantage of him in a negative light. I think you guys are using him as you guys should, building around him, like I mentioned earlier, and letting him take this team on his shoulders. He has big shoulders to carry it, and he is the right man for the job.
Yes. With that, let's wrap it up today. Josh, thank you so much for joining us. We went over on quite a few topics. However, keep in mind, I haven't gotten to talk to Josh in almost 2 weeks now. So when we get together, we talk a little bit too much ball. Make sure to follow, turn on notifications so you don't miss an episode. We've got the Caribbean series coming up at the end of January, rolling into the World Baseball Classic, rolling into the regular season. So coming soon is going to be more weekly episodes. We'll decide if we want to start that at the WBC or the beginning of the regular season. But stay tuned. Josh, thank you for joining us as always.
Absolutely.
We'll see you next time.